Hi, Gary.
Hi, Leo.
Gary, 2020 whizzed by, it feels, although a lot's happened. Before we look ahead to 2021, could you give us a brief summary from the investment team of how it's been throughout the year?
Yeah, I think in January, February, obviously, don't think anybody really foresaw what was going to overwhelm the UK, and it all happened so quickly. I find it very difficult to remember what we were thinking of going back into January, February now, because the moment the COVID-19 crisis hit, it just took over everything. So if you look at it statistically, we're going to have experienced the worst recession since 1709. We've seen large amounts of our economy locked down. We've seen the savings rate at record levels, way over 20%. That was back in June. That's just an extraordinary statistic. And money supply has been increasing very rapidly too. So it's been a very interesting year for these different measures, all caused, of course, by the rapid spread of a pandemic that we'd not seen for 102 years. And that has dominated. I think that the general response from the governments around the world has been mixed. There's been some very good things and things that have not worked so well. But I guess that any sane-minded person would feel that they would not have wanted to be in the cabinet of any country in a year like this. I don't think any of us envied the people having to make decisions for all of us. And then, of course, in the midst of all that, you get a stock market that actually does okay after a pretty horrendous March, when back to the bottom in late March, around 23rd of March. It's picked up remarkably well. So we were able to post positive, by the time I was on my feet in December, on December the 4th, doing our virtual seminar, we had posted positive returns for the year and at good levels. So it's so strange. I think anybody can see from this year that sometimes the immediate news doesn't reflect into security prices. You've got to look through and think about what's going to happen, not what is happening. So yeah, it was an interesting year. The highlight, I think, for me was, I think our team did a really good job. When it came in the spring, we went about looking at everything we were holding, and we looked at things we weren't holding as well. And there were clearly some really good bargains out there, and we got into them. And that's one of the reasons that we got this very, very strong bounce back and had a really blistering November relative to lots of the peer groups. So overall, Leo, we get to this time of the year and I look back at the last 12 months and think, if this had been December 2019 and you were telling me what was about to happen, I would have been extraordinarily concerned. And I don't think in my wildest expectations I could have imagined talking to you now with the positive results we've had from the multi-asset funds.
Sure, because obviously there's lots of unusual activity happening outside, so to speak, but within these four walls, for the investment team, it's business as usual.
Yes, I think this is where you earn your corn, in particular in these trying times. Clients pay us to do our job, and it's very, very important that we go to work and keep our heads at times like these. I think we did okay. Having said that, and there is an element when you rise to the challenge. This is what you do. Markets move sometimes wildly, and what the right thing to do is, but it's not always easy to do it, because we get emotional like anybody else, but we have to sort of park those emotions to one side and think, clinically and logically about what won't work, and make decisions for the long term, not next day, next week, next month, but for 5-10 years, which are sort of, and our clients' time horizons are often longer than that. And I think we did that, and I am pleased with the way that the team handled themselves this year. It was a challenge that we rose to. Having said that, I really hope there is absolutely no need for us to put those skills into good use next year, that we have a very boring 2021. That would be my wish going into this Christmas.
Sure. Well, one thing that we do know won't change is that markets will go up and markets will go down. And that's what we're here to do, is navigate those. Gary, I want to skip forward now. We've got Christmas, the New Year coming, and alongside that we've got Brexit. Have you got any comments for us as we run up to that? Surely there will be no more delays. We will know as we enter 2021 exactly where we stand. Do you have any views? Yes,
I think the Brexit is interesting. We said all along it'll go to the wire and there will be a deal. That was on our balanced view, was that would be the case. In a way, the politicians can't afford to go back to their countries early saying, oh, we've done a deal, it was all easy, because they open themselves up to lots of criticism for the different factions that are very dissatisfied. So in a way, you've almost got to, metaphorically back the hearse up to the door and let them smell the roses. So you've got to actually make the countries think it's not going to happen, so that everybody breathes a huge sigh of relief when at the very last minute of the last hour, back come the politicians saying, we've saved it. And that is still what I think will happen, and what I thought would happen all along. I could be proved wrong, but I just think there are so many advantages to a deal being done, both sides of the channel, that they will find a way of dealing with it. And I think, particularly bearing in mind what's happened with the latest lockdowns and the increase in the tiers, I think this government really needs a win. And I think their popularity will dwindle significantly if they take us into January with no deal, whilst actually locking more of the country down for longer periods.
Fingers crossed. Gary, you say breathing a sigh of relief. Hopefully we will be able to do that in the new year. But also looking forward, it looks like we may have the opportunity to do the same thing come spring 2021. With the vaccine rolled out, we'll have the March budget coming from Rishi Sunak. What does spring look like to you?
Oh, I think spring looks great. I think you remember what Churchill said about the war early days. It's not the end. It's not the beginning of the end, but is the end of the beginning. I think we're far further through this crisis than we realise. In a way, you could almost say that when this pandemic came out, what we did a lot on team, and thankfully for one or two clients that our senior medics gave us pointers in the right direction of people to talk to. So we kept quite close to what was happening with developments and trying to understand things, reading back about previous pandemics. And one of the things that is noticeable, and it's clearly demonstrated on a superb BBC programme called The Flu Virus That Killed 50 Million People, about the 1918 Spanish flu. Second waves are quite normal, and so are mutations. And if you think about a virus, for it to succeed, it wants to get into as many people as possible and survive for as long as possible. If it kills too many people too quickly, it doesn't spread. So Ebola would be in that type of category. But coronavirus is very, very clever. It doesn't take out too many people, and it enables itself to spread. The mutation is the word mutate sometimes sends a degree of panic amongst people, but mutations are generally for make the virus survives, that is the most efficient version of it. That most efficient version will be more easily transmissible and keep its hosts alive. Now, there's no evidence to suggest that this latest mutation that is spreading rapidly is less deadly than the original version of the coronavirus. But that is what happened in the 1918-1919 Spanish flu pandemic. And as it spread rapidly, with not quite such a deadly version, it blew itself through the populations. In the end, there was no one left to infect, and it dies away very, very quickly. Now, what we've got the advantage of is it's been around for a long time. A lot of people have clearly been infected already, although how many, we can't be completely accurate. But the vaccines are rolling out and more are coming on the market. So my estimate, if you look at the likelihood of the way the vaccine can be rolled out, and particularly when you have vaccinated vulnerable people, which will be the best way of protecting the NHS because they are more likely to end up in hospital, then I think there's every likelihood that you'll see the infection rate decline significantly quicker than it's picked up recently. And when that happens, it would almost be like the end of a war or a major campaign. And I think people will just go crazy. And if you look back to what happened after the World War I and the Spanish flu had passed, we had the Roaring '20s, which were a great period for economies growing. I mean, they ended up with the Wall Street crash of 1929. Things got ahead of themselves. But I think that's what we'll get. And a lot of people have got a lot of cash, Leo. There's been a big increase in the money supply through the actions of the Bank of England, and people that kept their jobs and had income saved bucket loads of money in the summer, and they've still got that money there. So I think they're going to go and spend it. And my encouragement to anybody watching this who saved money up during 2020 is when you get to the spring of 2021 and this is starting to pass and you can start to do things safely again, go and do them, because enjoy yourself, and you can do so with a clean conscience, knowing you're doing a great job for the economy. So that would be my encouragement for people come Easter.
Positively reassuring, Gary, and something to look forward to.
Yeah.
Well, personally, I'm very much looking forward to diving into 2021. I don't think it'll start slowly by any stretch. So with that, thank you very much for all of your work throughout 2020. And ladies and gentlemen, for all of your feedback and comments, they've been very much appreciated. Always heard, always taken on board. Any comments or questions, please let us know. Gary, thank you once again. I hope you have a peaceful break, and I look forward to working with you in 2021.
Thank you, Leo. Happy Christmas. Happy Christmas, everybody.
Everybody. Thanks very much. Gary, all the best. Talk to you soon.